Hi guys, Darth Deuce here, back on our Star Wars The Black Series action figure review. Continuing on with some Walmart exclusives, I reviewed the mercenary version of Balin's Skull previously, which is a figure I was pretty disappointed with. But this was a set I was a little more looking forward to. This is the Captain Enoch and Night Trooper 2-pack, obviously as they appear in the Ahsoka series. And yeah, looking forward to them. Always a fan of cool looking troopers, and these two definitely qualify for that. And I was a big fan of Enoch and the Night Troopers in the series, even though Enoch doesn't actually do that much in the show, but he looks cool. And that's all you really need to do when you're a trooper, I guess. Um, but yeah, not actually the first figures of these to come out. We have gotten the 4-pack in TVC already, and I do have a review of that on my channel. If you want to take a look at it, go ahead. But I will do comparison between the two. But I guess first, I guess we'll look at the Night Trooper first. Although the Night Trooper actually has surprisingly a lot of new sculpted parts. Obviously the base mold is the newer Stormtrooper body, which obviously makes sense. But there's a lot more new going on here than I expected. But first off, the helmet that you'd think would be just repainted, but it's not. It's actually a new sculpt, because something that's really cool is almost all of the gold cracks and repairs that are on the armor is actually sculpted detail. They actually sculpted a lot of these cracks and damage and then painted over it with the gold. Now, in a lot of places, the gold doesn't exactly line up the best, but the fact that they put the extra sculpted detail in there is pretty cool, because that's something they didn't do at all on the TVC figures. They just painted the cracks and the gold detail on, which is fine. But I do like they went the extra mile and actually made new sculpted parts to have the cracks sculpted in. But they went with the more darkened gray helmet, which I think looks pretty nice. One issue I have on mine, I don't know if it's going to be a widespread issue, but definitely a pretty significant QC issue, is that the lenses, the lens paint on my helmet completely missed the mark. This one shifted off to the left too much. This one shifted down too much, or it just doesn't fill up the actual sculpt of the lenses enough, which is a bit unfortunate. They are painted, I think they're a really, really, really dark green. Almost black, but I think they're technically a little bit dark green. At a distance, you can't tell too much, but when you get in close, you can see how wonky the lenses are painted. So that's a little unfortunate. But the mouth grill looks good. The black on the chin is pretty clean. Even the gold detailing is relatively clean. So it's just they missed the mark on the lenses, which unfortunately is one of the most important parts to get right. But yeah, at a distance, you won't notice too much. It doesn't bother me. Well, it bothers me a little bit. It shouldn't be that off. But yeah, it is what it is. But it looks good. The overlay torso armor is a new piece. It's got the wraps sculpted on and painted red. Then you do have the gold cracks, which again, like I said, are sculpted and then have that painted detail. And you've got to continue on the back a little bit. The midsection is also a new sculpted bit, because you have that sculpted wrap, red wrap, and then you also have more of the cracks and the gold filling in, which is cool. The crotch area and the belt, I do believe, is just reuse. Then both shoulder pads are new, because they both have, again, the wraps and that nice gold crack detail. And then on the left side, the rest of the arm is reuse, but on the right side, it is all new sculpt. You've got, again, the sculpted cracks. This one's not painted for some reason, but you got the sculpted crack. More of the ribbons, the ribbon around the hand as well. So that's very nice. Very cool. And then on the bottom, the only new bit is the left lower leg is sculpted detail there, with the gold crack around the knee, a little bit around the ankle there, and then you get the red wraps. The paint on the red is good for the most part. It bleeds a little bit in areas, but it's not too bad. It's pretty clean. Like I said, the gold sometimes misses the sculpt mark, but it's a lot less obvious than the lenses on the helmet. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Can't complain too much. Articulation, it's the same articulation that you've seen on these Stormtrooper figures. You got the dumbbell joint in the neck, and then at the base of the neck as well, so you get a fair amount of range of movement. There is a sculpted head sculpt, unpainted head sculpt underneath the helmet there, but it is glued on. And you've got the shoulder joints, they move, you go out, and you have a butterfly joint there. Single hinge elbows that rotate, bend quite far. Soles at the wrist, and you have in and out for the left hand, up and down for the right. torso joint that moves decently. Hips go out. You get the swivel cut that's nicely hidden by the armor. Single hinge that goes a bit past 90 on the knees, and you got the hinges at the ankles, and then rocker for pivot. So, you know, if you have any version of this mold, you know what you're getting. Pretty good articulation. You can do pretty much all the posing that you'd want to get out of this figure. And Enoch does have the same articulation scheme, so I won't fully go over his articulation, but he does have one major limitation, which I'll talk about in a moment. But in terms of accessories, you don't get much. You just get the blaster, and we've seen this blaster many, many times. Just cast in this light gray, no paint, unfortunately. Got the little torch on the side and the extended mag. This is like the Rogue One style blaster, I think. And, you know, you hold it perfectly fine in the trigger hand. And you can get two-handed poses with this figure, no problem. No holster for the blaster. I actually don't know if they've done this mold with a holster yet, interestingly enough. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. I do like they went with this design for the Night Trooper. I do like, you know, the helmet having all the gray, I think is one of the ones that stands out the most, so I think that's pretty cool. But moving on from him to Enoch. Yeah, I really like the design of Enoch's armor with the helmet, obviously, is the main selling point here. And I think the sculpt is really nice. Looks pretty much just like it did in the show. The face looks really good. And you got the gold paint, and you got like a wash applied to the face as well, which I think looks nice. And then luckily, Enoch's eyes, or lenses or whatever, were painted a lot cleaner than the Stormtroopers was. But you got a lot of nice details, black chin. One little annoyance, though, is that the red Imperial logos on his forehead there, they're not completely perfectly aligned. I think it showed up like this on renders, I believe, when they revealed this set. I don't think it looks as bad as the renders, but again at a distance, it's not super noticeable, but yeah, it is off. And unfortunately, this is not an easy fix. You would have to be, I would say, a fairly skilled painter to be able to put that white over that and then recreate that small emblem. So that's a bit unfortunate. But you got the grays, the more golds. His are just painted cracks. Enoch, interestingly enough, has a lot less sculpted cracks and a lot more reuse. But you have the gold on this shoulder here, looks really nice. You got gray, you got like the beige, or like the magenta looking color, beige, or not beige, but burgundy looking color for his undersuit, which is cool. You got more gold on the forearm there and the gauntlet. Then you've got some more of the gold cracklies, some more gold there. The torso arm overlay is a new piece, and it does have the sculpted cracks on it, some nice gold paint, and then you can see it does have a different back piece. If I had to get the Stormtrooper here. That's the easiest way to tell. But Enoch's is also a bit wider. He's a bit more, his torso is a bit larger, so his chest plate's a little wider, so that's nice. And you have a nice shiny gold midsection. I'm pretty sure this is reuse, but I guess maybe it could be new, but I think it's reuse. And obviously a new piece is the sash and like the whole like comma get up going on here with the holster and the belt. It looks good. It's got a nice sculpted detail to make it look like worn, I don't know, like leather or some whatever material it's supposed to be. But one major downside to this is that it's made of actually not a very pliable plastic, and it doesn't have any cuts in it, so it really limits articulation. You cannot get the legs out super wide. You actually can't really, might be able to see it actually starts to stress the plastic, but you can't spread out the legs too far. You can't kick out very far, so you are definitely decently limited in the posability you can do with him with his legs, which is a little unfortunate. But I don't know, how much that actually bothers you. It doesn't bother me that much because all Enoch really did was stand around, and that's all I'm gonna have him doing. So I do kind of prefer the look over the functionality, but some people might be kind of bummed out by that, and I totally understand. But the rest of the legs, I believe the entirety of the legs are just reused from the Stormtrooper, just they have different paint for all the gold and gray details and whatnot, but that works just fine. And overall, I think Enoch does look really good. Definitely one of the coolest looking troopers we have in the Black Series. And I think they did, for the most part, a pretty good job. And I'm glad we got him. In terms of accessory, again, just comes with his one accessory being his unique pistol. This is a new sculpt. Excuse me, it is also actually a pretty sturdy plastic. It's not very soft, which is nice. I prefer it when the gut weapons are sturdy plastics, they don't warp. Sculpt detail is good, and it's got a decent amount of little gold paint apps on it, which is nice as well. I like the pistol design. Of course, in the right trigger hand, he holds it good. But if you don't want him holding it, because I actually don't think he held it in the entirety of the time he was in the show, because I don't think he did any fighting, but you can also holster it in the holster on the side, and it fits in decently securely. It's not going to just fall out, so that's nice. But I guess now we'll do some comparisons. I guess the biggest one is comparing them with their 3 3/4 inch counterparts. So I'll do the Night Trooper first. I got the TVC Night Trooper that best resembles the one we got in this 2-pack here. The one with the gray head, or the most gray on the head. You can kind of see. Very similar. But yeah, this one does have the just painted gold. This one has the cracks actually sculpted, which is a nice feature. They're both nice. I will say I do prefer the black series just because this mold is better. And obviously, and also has the extra sculpted detail of the cracks sculpted. But they really gotta retool this Stormtrooper mold. Like, all they gotta do is change these disc hinge hips into the new ball joint hips, and they have a Stormtrooper mold they never have to redo. I think they've got their perfected Stormtrooper mold. I don't know why they're waiting so long to retool this or redo them. Like, just do it. Like, we need a new Storm. Obviously the disc hinges are better than swivels, but yeah, I really don't like the disc hinges. They're really not great. Especially when every figure, TVC figure now, basically has the new ball joints. They should have them now, but this one does, so this one is a bit funner to pose and mess with. And then Enoch, here's the two Enochs together. This Enoch is Kama actually is a bit of a brighter color, or just overall, the undersuit as well is a bit of a brighter color of burgundy. And his his Kama piece, first of all, has more gappage and cuts in it, but it is also just a more flexible plastic, so it does move better. But he also has disc hinge hips, so he's also not that fun to pose hip-wise anyways. The helmets, I think they're both good. This one doesn't really have a wash on the face, it's just pure gold. This one has the wash. I do actually think it does help that the 6-inch one is obviously a larger scale. They can get more detail in. I do think the shape and the detail is a bit better on the Black Series one, but they're both pretty good. And just paint in general, I think they're both pretty well done. But I will say, in terms of look, I think I do prefer the Black Series one just a little more, but they're both good. Like, happy to have both. Next up, I don't have the Ahsoka Thrawn yet. I will probably have that soon, and when I get him, I'll do the comparison in that review. But here he is with the Rebels Archive Thrawn, and they look pretty good with them, and they'll look even better with the actual accurate Thrawn. And then, just so you can see, not really for Enoch, but for the Night Trooper, here is Night Trooper with a standard white Stormtrooper. And it's a little hard to tell on camera, but they actually are different shades of white. The normal Stormtroopers is very bright, shiny, stark white, whereas the Night Trooper is actually more like a bone white, like an off-white bone white, which, you know, pretty appropriate for what they are, obviously, but also it just also makes them look just a bit more worn, a bit more dirtier than a clean Stormtrooper, because obviously they've been in that planet Peridia for 10 years, so they wouldn't have pristine armor, of course, because they repaired it 50 times. But yeah, they look pretty good. But overall, this is a pretty good set. I do find it funny that for some reason Hasbro don't want to release Enoch on his own. He's got to be with the Night Troopers, either with one in a 2-pack or with 3 others in a 4-pack. So it's a little unfortunate. If maybe you only wanted Enoch, you're forced to buy a multi-pack of some kind. But I am betting, or I'm willing to wager, that most people who are interested in Enoch are probably interested in having at least a Night Trooper to accompany him. So this is a pretty solid set. You know, it's not a must-have, but if you're a fan of these character designs and you collect Black Series 6-inch, I think it's definitely worth picking up. They're like, the price is fine. It's the price of 2 Black Series figures, I think. So no super complaints there. They're nice, articulate well. The Night Trooper articulates well. Enoch's low articulation is a bit hindered, but like I said, it doesn't personally bother me. It's up to you if it bothers you or not. But the paint's good, the sculpt's good for the most part. A little bit QC here and there. If you find them in stores, maybe I'd look through a few just to get the best one. But otherwise, pretty cool set, and if you're interested, I'd definitely recommend it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. May the Force be with you.